We expect that by the end of April, we will have a new national minimum wage. You will recall that Prime Minister has spoken about this matter for some time. We reconstituted the minimum wage board, and the minimum wage board is already meeting to address the matter of the national minimum wage, recognizing that inflation essentially demands an increase, but we're also working on a method of making of almost automating the increase, so that a system is to be constructed that will allow for the minimum wage, the national minimum wage, to be adjusted using certain metrics, certain parameters. But we recognize that inflation is not a local issue. Inflation is a global issue. We also recognize that those who work must be able to eat, support themselves and their families. And this is really a matter of recognizing that our development as a nation must continue to be human-centered. It must continue to understand the humanity of people and what people need in order to be able to deliver for the organizations that employ them and for the country more generally. And so the matter of the national minimum wage, which we were happy to introduce to the country just a few years ago during the pandemic, we recognize that the rate that we set in 2021 is not a rate that can continue throughout 2025. And so we are in the process of making the necessary adjustments, and the minimum wage board is working on that as we speak.
So it will be adjusted in April, as in it will be implemented in April?
We are working toward April. Now, I am not one who likes setting specific dates until I am absolutely sure about those dates. So I'm saying to us that we are working toward the end of April, having everything done. It is not a rushed activity, even though it is an urgent matter. So we are making sure that the professionals who are on the minimum wage board, tripartite, have the opportunity to consider all the necessary factors and make an informed decision.
Okay. For workers, this will be like a big win for us, but you feel that this is something that the employers could afford at this time?
Well, we recognize a fundamental truth, and it is that in order for a business to be viable, it must be able to strike that balance between its revenue and its expenses. We also recognize that those who generate on behalf of businesses are people. And if people are not in a position to be able to generate the business, the revenue for the organization, then the organization is not viable, is not sustainable. Same holds for country. So that the understanding is that we share. Businesses must make a profit if they're to be sustainable, and workers must be able to eat, support themselves, and support their dependents if they are to be sustainable. And so we don't see it as a zero-sum game that workers win at the expense of organizations. We see that workers win, organizations win, the nation wins. If everybody is able to survive, support themselves, and grow. That's really what national development is all about.